Wonderful. Hello, everybody, and welcome to New Year, New Love, Attract Your Dream Relationship in 2026 Masterclass. Bit of a mouthful.
Yeah.
But lovely to connect and meet with you all. My name is Topper. I always say that my name sounds like the top that you wear and the air that you breathe, top air, even though it's not spelt that way.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how it's pronounced. I am sitting quite cozily on my bed. I am a cozy chick. I cannot help it. Sometimes I sit up at a desk and do these things, but most of the time I just quite like sitting here. I just feel much more relaxed and I just find it's quite easy to kind of chat to you and be a lot more conversational with you.
Yeah.
Just don't mind me. And so, what we're going to do today is I'm going to share with you a little bit about what we're going to cover today, tell you a little bit about myself as well, and I'm going to dive in and just go through the steps that I want to share with you in this masterclass today. There will be a chance to ask questions at the end. I like to keep them towards the end because I love answering questions, and I find that people throw questions up at me, and then I just get carried away answering, and then we end up being here forever because I just really want to get through like all the content. Um, and I don't want us to get stuck. I do want to try and keep it to an hour. I also am quite fearful that my voice will just like give out on me. So I want to make sure I stick to that. So, first of all, I'd just love to know, you could just drop in the chat as well, just to like keep things moving. Like, where are you in the world? Where are you joining me from? If you're in London, which part? North, south, east, west? I'm southwest London here. Tell me a bit about your status as well. Like if you've never settled down before, maybe you're single, maybe you're just back on the scene after a long-term relationship. Maybe you've been dating for a little bit and it's just not going well. I'd really love to hear basically kind of where you are at today. And also just, I mean, this is too many things I'm asking you. It's gonna be like, tell me this and tell me that. And yeah, and just how much do you really want to find love as well on a scale of 1 to 10? With 1 not being that bothered and 10 being I am so ready for love. I would really love to hear about that from you. So please do drop in the chat. I've seen somebody has dropped something in the chat already.
I don't know where the
Joining
chat
from
thing
Derby.
is.
Oh, on your because you're on your phone, aren't you? So you might have to just tap it, look at the bottom. I think there's a little option for chat. And then you might disappear off screen, but I will still see that you're there.
Okay.
So if you can share, that'll be wonderful. Jill, thank you for sharing. A widowed many years ago. I'm sorry to hear that. I know the time obviously may have gone on, but still, thank you for sharing that. And where are you? Where are you joining us from? You're ready to meet someone now. Amazing.
Hull.
Yeah,
I'm in Hull, East Yorkshire.
you're up in York, so okay, you're in Hull.
Yeah.
Lovely, lovely. Okay, and we've also got Oksana here, and we've got Jay as well, who's from Derby. So, so yeah, so today I love doing this same kind of masterclass literally every time, the same time every year, because I know people get to the end of one year and they always start thinking about, okay, you know what, things didn't quite work out for me last year. Don't know what's going on. I am really ready for love. I want the next year to be different. So, you know, I imagine you're here because you want 2026 to be different. You're ready to find your person, or you're ready to overcome whatever the blocks are that maybe you were experiencing last year. You know, you really want to make something work. And I'm assuming that's why you are here today and you want to learn about what's all this new year, new love. And what I'm going to share with you is basically what you need to know and then what you need to do in order to help you to attract this dream partner of yours, not just obviously any old partner, but somebody that you really want to have a compatible relationship with. And like I said, I'm going to try and keep this within that the hour. So that's why I'm going to do all the masterclass bits first, and then please feel free to either drop your questions in the chat and I'll come back to them after, or hold them, write them down, whichever one you want to do. Right, Nicola said she's from North Cotswold. She's always been attracted to the avoidant, but turns out I'm a fearful avoidant myself. Having therapy, getting there, moving on, and ready for the real thing. Totally hear that, Nicola. That's always been my thing, attracting avoidance, and then also discovering myself that I've probably got that bit of secure and avoidant type of attachment as well, which actually, you know, something that I'm going to talk about as well today. So I said, my name's Top Air. Why do I do this? What am I about? why am I even qualified to talk to you? One, I've helped lots of singles transform their dating lives, whether that's supporting them to date online, meeting people offline, whether it's letting go of situationships, teaching them how to choose the right person for them. That's a really big thing. Sorry, bear with me a second. Somebody else is just joining. Um, helping them to let go of the patterns and the blocks that are getting in the way of their relationships as well, helping them to find partners, helping them to know how to keep the relationships they're in, letting go of the wrong ones, getting over breakups, like facing some truths about themselves to help make better choices. I've done so much work with singles, and all of the work we do is going to be different really for everybody. Hi Hardik, nice for you to join us. And the reason that I started doing this is because I've gone through my own turbulence in my dating life since I got divorced like over 20 years ago. And even when I got married in the first place, just really thinking about why I got married in the first place, it was for security and it was for love, but it wasn't at the time an understanding of being compatible and aligned to somebody. I just kind of wanted someone, and I was kind of sort of running from that lack of an emotional, connection with my parents. I didn't have that, so I was just really seeking that in a partner. So when I was looking for a partner, I wasn't really being intentional. I wasn't kind of really being conscious about what I was looking for. And that's probably because I didn't even know anything about it. I was quite young. No one taught this stuff to me. And I don't think people teach this stuff in general as we're growing up about how to be intentional and look for like a compatible, aligned partner. But once I started getting more, intentional with my dating, then I did start attracting more suitable partners. Because in between my divorce and meeting my partner that I've been with for 4.5 years now, I was just falling in and out of relationships, just one incompatible relationship after the other, because I was just seeking to find somebody because I wanted to have that connection. I wanted love. I wanted to be close to somebody. But, I was just looking, it was almost like, as I call it, dating with my eyes, dating in the dark. So I always say it's dating in the dark. I'm just want to find somebody. Oh, look, there's a person. Let's get together, but not actually being more wide-eyed that, okay, hold on, is that person actually right for me? We might get on and everything, the chemistry might be there, but are they aligned? So that's kind of really what I started moving towards. And and that's why I do what I do, because I really want to help people to learn this, to know exactly how to be more conscious when they date, to not date in the dark, and to stop getting into strange situations. And also I'm very big on pattern breaking, because often the reason why we don't find what we're looking for is because we are stuck in a pattern that is constantly driving the way that we show up in dating. And that's what causes so much of the heartache. But we don't have to go through all of that. There's so much that we can, do to avoid all of that heartache and heartbreak, and actually find the right person without feeling frustrated and without feeling overwhelmed. So once we've gone through what I'm going to share with you today, you're going to find that you're going to feel much more empowered when it comes to dating. Because when you're being intentional, you have so much more clarity, and you feel more confident, and it's just a little bit more flowy. It doesn't mean we won't have stuff going on, but we tend to be a little bit more resilient as well, even as we're dating. So I'm going to share with you all the things that worked for me, and that's also worked for my clients as well. So I really want to help you to see maybe what's been missing for you, or what's kind of not been aligned for you in your love life, and help you to understand, what it is that you need to do. There's not just the sheer willpower of wanting to be with somebody, but for you to be able to walk away with some clarity, to know what your next steps are, whether, you take those steps on your own, or if you want any help taking those steps as well. So if you're here thinking, why hasn't love worked for me? Why hasn't all this dating stuff worked? I know a lot of times we can ask that question, like, what is wrong with me? Why is this just not working? Right? Obviously, there's nothing wrong with you. It's not that you're kind of like failing. It's just maybe there's a few key pieces that are missing that you're just not aware of. And no one's actually showed you what those pieces are or how to put them together. So obviously, I'm not going to be talking about fixing anything, but just about helping you see what might be actually going on for you in the background without you even knowing, and how if you just make some kind of small shifts, they could literally just change everything. So as I've said, many people are doing dating, but they're not dating intentionally. And often you kind of focus on who you're trying to meet You know, who do I want to connect with? What's, you know, the traits, the checklist and everything like that, but not necessarily thinking about who you're being as well when you're meeting somebody, thinking about what it is that you believe, or thinking about how you're going to approach your dating life. And then what tends to happen is, as I said, we get caught up in these repeating patterns. We get caught up in disappointment. We get caught up in burnout, or relationships that are just almost, you know, I've definitely been in my fair share of almost relationships, the ones that just feel like they're just within reach, they could just about touch it, but I just can't get them. I just can't get this person. I can't get that relationship. And that's, you know, our patterns that tend to drive the show. That's what happened with me. Now, the steps I'm going to share with you, and at the time as I was going through them, at the time as I was teaching it, and they were repeatable, I realized there are actually very clear things that you can do over and over that anybody can apply. And I realized there's an actual very clear framework that you can apply, which means you can just like ask yourself, oh, is it this I need to do? Is it this I need to do? Is it this or this or this? Which makes it so much more easier. You know, it makes it less chaotic. So I have got a 6-part framework, which I call the dream partner formula. Okay. And this is all helps you to think about, you know, who you are, what you believe, like, and how you date. And it's like, if you have some of these pillars that are missing or not aligned, it just means that you just need to have a system really to kind of help you to get to the outcome that you want. And so I always say, because my framework is split into 2 parts, okay? And if you're stuck with dating, if something's not working, I always say, ask yourself one of these 2 questions, and then it will help you. Once you learn the framework, you'll get it. Is it who I'm being as I'm meeting these people, as I'm dating? Or is it what I'm doing? Is it the lack of intentionality as I'm dating? Those are very 2 clear things. And I'm going to break down those 2 parts for you. So with the part 1, with who you're being, this is where I always say you've got to start first, right? It's that inner alignment. It's, you know, it's the part of, like I said, it's not just about who you meet, or like where you date, where you're doing the dating, but it's looking at who are you being when you show up as you date. Because you could be on the same app as with the same person or different people in the same city, but because you're different, obviously you end up getting very different results based on who you are on the inside, and who you are when you're meeting people. Because who you're being when you meet people, it matters in terms of like who you say yes to. So the person that you're being will determine like who you say yes to, who you choose to be with, and who you end up keeping, right? Because of how we are. And that's like a culmination of our beliefs and the feelings that we feel about ourselves. So the first part of that is the foundation that I always start with everybody when we're like doing like long-term work together, is loving yourself first. Well, you know, you may have heard a lot about, or may not have heard a lot about self-worth. And that's, for me, is the key. And that's definitely the number one thing that I had to change before I was able to start connecting with the right people. So self-worth, when you've got good self-worth, it definitely determines what behavior you do or you do not tolerate. It determines like how quickly you might attach yourself to somebody as well, and whether you end up abandoning yourself in the process just to keep a connection. You know, I don't know if you've ever been in that position where you feel like, you know, that you're just not being up like your true self, you're not being authentic, you're not speaking your truth, because you just want to hold on to this person. You don't want to rock the boat because you just want to hold on to this person, you know. And often it can be, you know, unhealed past experiences that tend to, you know, impact our self-worth a lot, and can lead us to doing things like people pleasing, you know, where we're just trying to keep that other person sweet, or we're over giving, we're just doing too much, we're doing the most, and we're not even being met anywhere in the middle, because maybe we're afraid that they'll walk away, or it may impact you choosing emotionally unavailable partners. That's often where the low self-worth can impact you. So when you don't have self-worth in place, you might end up seeking validation through your dating. You know, you just want people to say that they choose you, right? You just want to be chosen. It's not even about whether this person's right for you. You just want someone to say yes to you, because it validates you. It makes you feel good about yourself. It makes you feel good enough. You know, you might end up confusing some kind of intensity or passion with a connection, you know, because that also kind of feels a little bit for validating as well. And you're not really understanding what the concept is of actually what is love, but it's more about what is also the chemistry, or even the complexities of something. You get caught up in that. And you might find yourself staying in situations too long, in relationships too long, that don't meet your needs, because you're afraid, you know, that you're not enough for somebody else to be with. So you're like, well, this person's with me, so I might as well just stay. I might as well be with them. That's what can happen if your self-worth isn't in place. But when it is in place, what you end up doing is showing up authentically. You show up as yourself. You're able to put your boundaries in place. You know, you are able to speak your truth. You're able to ask for what you need. You don't over invest so early in order to hook people and keep them and hold on to them. You just, you know, pace yourself, and you're able to kind of like take your time and make sure that you're both equally invested and that that person is actually right for you, because you're not looking for any validation. And you end up attracting people who actually see you and meet you as an equal partner, not as somebody that you're going to be kind of like really needy towards, that you're going to be really dependent on. So that's what can really happen when you are coming from a great place, when you are feeling worthy about yourself. And this is like really feeling, you know, am I enough for love? Sorry, I have to pause and press admit. I can't do it while I'm talking. Somebody else is just joining us. You know, so this is all about, do I feel like I am enough for love? Do I feel like I'm enough for someone? Hi, Lewis, welcome. And that's the key, that the part that you want to get to. You want to feel like you are good enough, you're lovable, and no matter what's happened in your past doesn't define you. Maybe the way that people have treated you as you have grown up, etc., it doesn't make you question your value, because you are always worthy. That's what I always say. You're always worthy from the day that you were born, and it's only experiences that we've gone through, way we've been treated, you know, the way we've been brought up, that can actually have an impact on, you know, our worthiness. Like, I feel like it just kind of like piles on and starts to hide our worth. And really, it's about reclaiming it. It's about remembering who you are, who you always were. Those things that happen, those experiences that happen, their experiences, the things that people said, they're just things that they said. They don't make them true about you. So you have to always know that to be true about yourself. And once you have your great and high self-worth, then you won't be throwing yourself at people. You won't be wanting, you know, other people to just say yes to you. You'll be able to be like, you know what, I can determine whether this is right for me. And I can believe as well that there are loads of people out there that would actually want to be with somebody like me. So I don't have to hang on in this situation. I don't have to tolerate all this nonsense just for the sake of having somebody. And that's really what you want to get to. So I'd like for you to really just have a little bit of a reflection, okay, with this area. Thinking about yourself when you've been dating. Have you ever, or do you tend to abandon yourself at any point? If you were really honest with yourself, do you abandon your needs, so you don't ask for what you want, or you kind of dismiss them or diminish them, you know, play them down? Oh, I'm fine, I'm all right, I don't need that, I don't, you know, I'll just go along with what you want. Have you abandoned yourself where, you know, you've had boundaries, but you've let people overstep your boundaries? You know, they've pushed back against you, where you really say no, or you're saying yes when you actually want to say no, or, you know, you're not speaking your truth, you're not showing up as your real self, you're not being authentic. Ask yourself, do I tend to abandon myself in order to keep a connection? Because if you can be honest and say actually yes, then this is where your self-worth could be the issue, where you need to then really actually be doing that work on your self-worth. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah. So have reflection. If you want to share anything in the chat, please feel free. I'd love to hear it. And I just want to be clear as well that these 6 pillars that I share, they might not be, not everyone is going to be applicable to you. So it's going to be maybe a particular one that's applicable. It might be more than one, you know, it might be all of them, you know, but just keep it real, be honest. And as I say, there's no shame, no shade, no judgment. The best thing you can do is just have the self-awareness, because the minute you know exactly where you're stuck or what's not working, then you can start working towards it and make the change that you need to change. So definitely take this opportunity to really kind of have some honest reflections. Now, when you start reconnecting with your self-worth, then something great really happens. That's when you find you stop chasing a connection just to feel okay or just to feel good, right? Because that's what happens when we're chasing and somebody like says yes or someone picks you. It just makes you feel good. But you actually start wanting a relationship that actually adds to your life, doesn't fill the void, you know, it doesn't it's not there to make you happy, because there's no such thing. So that's not, there's no such thing, but that's not what relationships are for, right? They're to add. So that's why the next thing I'm going to talk about isn't really about dating. It's about you thinking about your relationship with your own life. And I always talk to people about loving your life, right? Being a happy single. And why this matters, because when you have a fulfilling life, it helps you to create like emotional stability. You know, you've got that stability within yourself. Again, it means that you don't end up chasing people to fill a void. You're not like dating then from like loneliness often too, because that's where often people can date from loneliness, because their life is not very fulfilled, and they think that if I have a partner, that's going to make everything better. I'm going to feel good. I'm going to feel so much better. But actually, you know, relationships, well, after you get past the honeymoon phase, they bring up their own issues and dramas, because you start to like really figure out who you are, who they are. That's when the clashes happen. So, you know, there's no point relying on another human being to come along and make your life better. It's better for you to kind of be in that position where you're already feeling quite fulfilled yourself. It helps you to pace your dating life better as well. So you're not rushing to lock things down. I know I used to try and do that. I was always like, oh, I just want to get exclusive, because I just think that will just make everything better. And you're rushing to make that connection quickly. That was an error. I really learned how to slow down and enjoy the slow burn as well. You know, so, you know, it matters, because you want attraction with somebody that, you know, comes from wholeness. It comes from you feeling whole, comes from you feeling good, not from you feeling a lack of something in your life, whether that's like loneliness, emptiness, whatever that is. You don't want an attraction that comes from that, because it's not going to be the right fit anyway. You're doing it for the wrong reasons, and that's where you probably will end up with the wrong person, because of the reason in which you're doing it. So dating works best when love is an addition to your life. It's not an escape. It's not just like, oh, if I can get myself wrapped up in my love life, then, you know, I'll be happy and all the other problems will just, you know, fall away, which they won't, you know. So when you're doing that, you end up creating another problem in your life. And whether that's you might end up with a really great person, but perhaps your neediness and dependency on them could end up pushing them away too. So you don't want to end up being needy and dependent on somebody. And I'm not saying as well that your life has got to be perfect before somebody comes along. Absolutely not. There's no such thing. But it's just more about feeling fulfilled. It's more about feeling whole, feeling like things are working out enough. And the relationship is not to rescue you, but it's just there to add. Because when it's not in place, then you're focusing so much on dating, and that's the source of your joy and the source of your meaning in life. And that means when things don't work out, something goes wrong, maybe when someone ghosts you, you know, where things have been ticking along so well and suddenly they just either disappear, or they suddenly turn around and say, hey, you know what, this isn't for me. It might hit you so much harder, you know, because you were relying so much on that relationship to make you happy. You know, if your mood is generally low because you're not working on whatever is causing that low mood, but the relationship comes along, where you're texting somebody and you're happy, you're getting on, you're having a great time, you're distracted from your whatever that low mood feeling is, and then suddenly that person disappears out of your life, then you just slump right back down into this low feeling again. So it can hit you really hard. It can make you question so much. You might end up rushing things that you don't really want to rush, like intimacy, you know, or commitment, simply because you want to lock that down. You want to hold on to that person. But when you are feeling fulfilled, when you are being a happy single, you end up dating with more curiosity. You're more kind of exploring, is this the right alignment for me? Is this the right relationship for me? Rather than, you know, doing it from a place of pressure. You actually end up becoming a bit more magnetic as well, because your life already feels full. So anyway, you're kind of glowing because you're happy, you're content, you know, you're grateful for what you've got in your life, and maybe you're out there just enjoying your life, enjoying your passions, etc. And you end up connecting with people from that place. And you know, because you're feeling good, you're feeling confident, that is going to be quite magnetic. We vibrate really high, vibrate really good energy when we're just relaxed and we're enjoying life and we're kind of just open to opportunities to connect and meet with people, you know, as well as, you know, you're putting yourself out there, but you're doing it without pressure. You're doing it from a place of wholeness. People can see that in you. People can see that kind of energy, and people can also see neediness and desperation. And that's also where you can end up attracting the wrong people who will feed off that as well, and who take advantage of that feeling. and you don't want that. That's why you want to just feel that sense of fullness. And then you end up then choosing partners based on whether you're aligned, whether you're compatible, not from a place of loneliness, and then not holding on to people as well because you're so scared they're going to run off and leave you with that feeling of loneliness and emptiness again. So that's why it's so much better for you to work on your life first, whether that's dreams that you've got, that you haven't started working towards, goals that you have, whether it's, expanding your network, whether it is, doing more hobbies, whatever, to bring you that joy, to bring you that the fun and that fulfillment in your life. Do that bit first. And it also means as well, when they come into your life, you're still doing those things. You're not expecting that one person to meet all of your needs, because you've got these other things going right for you, your hobbies, your interest, your friendships, your family, whatever your dreams that you're pursuing, you've got all of that, and the relationship is just part of that pie. And it takes that pressure as well off that other person. And it means if things don't work out, you still got all of those things as well to kind of fall back on and to keep giving you that joy. So that's why you really want to make sure you're working on those things first. So your reflection exercise is, if you weren't dating at all this year, what areas of your life would you need more to pay more attention to for you to still feel fulfilled? So what are the things that, if I put dating aside just for a moment, what are the other areas actually that might be a little bit missing for me? This is where, if you've ever done a Wheel of Life's a really great places to start with this, just like scoring the different areas of your life, your career, your maybe personal development, your friendships, your hobbies, etc. It might be your like faith or whatever. Those are the kind of things that you might want to start asking yourself. Okay, where am I at in those areas? What should I pay a little bit more attention to? What should I improve? Then you already know, like, right, yeah, I better just pay attention to that. Let me work on that a little bit. And it might just be one that you start working on, but at least you're going towards it and bringing that kind of sense of fulfillment. So have a think about that. Again, if you want to share anything in the chat, please do. And any questions you want to drop in there for later, please do. So, okay, great. Thank you, Oksana. I'm going to swing back to that as well in a little bit. So now imagine this. Imagine, like, right, I'm all right. I like my life. I feel grounded. I'm not dating from panic or pressure. The next question then becomes, okay, so how do I actually show up in a relationship when it starts to get real? Because, the attraction part might get you in the door. You're connecting with them, you're choosing them. But how you relate to somebody is going to determine whether love can grow. So these elements that I'm sharing with you, these 3 pillars, they're for me, the part about who you're being is also about being ready for a relationship. So that once you get in the door, you already kind of know how to manage that relationship, how to operate, how to show up in that relationship. And the key part for this is loving my 3rd pillar is love your relationship. And it's about how are you now being the ideal partner for your ideal partner. Okay, because it's not just about, finding the right person for you, but it's also being the right person for them in terms of how you are. Relationships are obviously a 2-way street, and you want to make sure that you're going into that in the kind of best position that you can be in. Because, it matters, because having healthy relationships require you being able to be sort of emotionally literate. Like, you understand yourself emotionally, you know how to express yourself emotionally, you know yourself better. And that's one of the key things, is truly knowing yourself. You have an awareness of how you communicate, and that you communicate in a healthy way with people. You've got an awareness of like your attachment styles, your dynamics, like I mentioned earlier. And also things like I was, encourage people to understand their love languages as well. Knowing how you love to get your emotional needs met, because then you can express that to your partner, because you're not necessarily going to meet somebody who's going to have the same love language or know exactly how you want to be loved. Right? I think there's a difference between how we behave towards people in a caring, loving, and respectful way, and also knowing how to fill people's emotional, like their love tanks, as Gary Chapman calls it. He's the one who coins the love languages, is how to make you feel that love, right? Because we all feel love in different ways. We all feel loved differently, whether it's by gift giving, physical touch, acts of service, or don't know why it all went out of my head. Words of affirmation, and there's one more that just literally did go out of my head. Oh, quality time. I should know that's mine. It's quality time, things that are important, and those are the things that make us feel more loved when we have those things. So if something's amiss, if we feel a little bit off, then it's not that the other person maybe isn't trying, but maybe they're not doing it in the way that, matters most to you. And you can articulate that. You can just say, hey, you know what, I'd really love it if you did more of this, because that really makes me feel loved. And equally, because you then have an awareness of the love languages, it means that you can also be aware that they might need you to tweak how you're showing up for them, the way that you're showing them love too. And you can ask that question, because you have that awareness, like, oh, what makes you feel loved? Oh, okay, you want that. Because we also might be like, you are somebody who likes acts of service, so you're showing that person love through the acts of service. But then maybe they like, yeah, I like acts of service, but something's still not right. I don't feel that that's right for me. But their acts of service are completely different. So, you might like doing things for them in a certain way, but they might want something else done in a certain, do you know what I mean? So it's about really understanding and being able to have those conversations in a really, obviously a mature way, and just knowing that kind of exists. So things like that are very important for you to know and have that awareness of yourself before you go into relationships, because often I think we can clash a lot. And then it is about understanding, okay, when conflict arises, how do I manage conflict? Because that's a massive one too. And you've got to be able to really be honest with yourself and reflect back on, okay, how have I handled conflict in the past? Has it been healthy or has it been unhealthy? Have I been somebody who stonewalls, or do I just walk off? I can't deal with it. Do I deflect? Do you know what I mean? Do I just not deal with it? Do I bury my head in the sand, or do I get a bit aggressive? Do I get in people's faces as well? Because I can't regulate my own emotions. I don't know how to deal with conflict. Do I just react, or project? It's really good to know. It's really good to be able to be honest with yourself, be like, okay, maybe I haven't been handling it right, because conflict is inevitable. We are always going to have it, because we're two different people who come from different backgrounds, different experiences, different everything, so you're going to have disagreements, and you've got different views and opinions. That's fine to have those. It's how you navigate it. It's how you handle it. You don't want to be in situations that blow up and take maybe days or weeks, whatever, to recover, or do the silent treatment. Those aren't healthy ways to manage conflict. We can just have good conversations with people, but you have to be aware of yourself first and know exactly what it is that you're doing, and like, what should I do differently instead? If I'm somebody that always stonewalls, knowing that that's not healthy, that's not going to be nice for the other person, instead I need to do this. Instead I need to be able to say, okay, maybe I need a bit of time. I need a bit of time out because I'm just going to lose it. I need to go and reflect first. Then I can come back and have a conversation with you. I know that I'm somebody who I can be very logical and rational, believe it or not. When it comes, I can be like that, but sometimes I have to be mindful not to be too robotic or clinical either. But also I can get really frustrated and angry. But one thing I did, because of the way I grew up, I grew up in a home where there was a lot of arguing and shouting. So that's not something for me. I don't like getting into arguments. I don't like, the risk of saying something that might I could never take back, because there are things people have said to me in the past and I haven't forgotten them. I might have said, I forgive you for it, but I remember them. And I don't want to be in a position where I say something like that to somebody. So if I'm angry, I will very rarely be angry at the person. I will be like, you know what, time out, babe. And what I might need to do is go and vent that elsewhere. I might need to go and speak to my friend and just get it all out, all the effing and blinding. I can't eat that at me, but that's to just purge it, right? And then I stop and I reflect, okay, hold on a minute. Am I angry, or am I triggered by something? Am I just triggered by something, or is it just literally what he said and did? Is it the thing? Okay, so then if it's that, what would I like instead? What is the issue that I can go back and say, okay, this is what happened. When you said that, I felt like this. What I would love going forward, is this, or what was that about for you? But it enables me to have a bit of a clearer head. That's how I prefer to deal with it. So it's just knowing yourself, but also knowing what would make for a better communication, because the ultimate goal for you in your relationship is what I think sometimes people don't realize is the connection. It's your relationship. It's always about, how do I keep this connection? How do I, ensure that our relationship is healthy and working well, versus, you against them. This is the way I think people sometimes just get it so wrong. They're in a relationship, it's very much about me against you, me versus you. It should never be that. You're a team. You're supposed to be. Otherwise, what's the point of being with somebody if you're always going to be butting heads and wanting to be right? It's about me being right. I'm right. It's like, that's just going to mess up your relationship. So the focus should be, there is you, there is them, but there's also your relationship. So what's best for your relationship in this moment? That doesn't mean that you always back down and you bend over backwards and you acquiesce. Not at all. It's how can we strive for the solution? How can we look for, what we both need to be doing to make this better, to come back to one another, to reconnect with each other? How can I be humble? How can I get my ego out of the way? How can I make this not be about being right? So that's what that conflict is about. And I do like to talk about this quite passionately, because I do think sometimes we can just be in the wrong mindset when we're in a relationship. And if we don't have this mindset in place of trying to be the ideal partner, then conflict can feel very threatening, and it means that our needs can go unexpressed, or we explode, or we lose it. Oh, you don't care about me, you don't love me, you're not. And it's just like, it's not that they don't love you, it's just that maybe they're not loving you the way that you want. But if you can't articulate that to them, that's an issue. Or you have attachment styles running the relationship unconsciously. So you might have being avoidant, as you touched on, Nicola. You want to be close, but somehow there's a pattern within you that keeps pushing that person away. Every time you get close, you find yourself kind of running off in the opposite direction, because it's scary to maybe be that exposed, to be that vulnerable with them. Or you've got that anxious style where you're just like so scared of being rejected and abandoned that you get really clingy and you hold on to that person with all your might, which can be very suffocating for somebody, and they don't want it. And also sometimes as well, we find that the anxious and the avoidant tend to just attract each other, simply because you are literally feeding that pattern. If somebody's not avoidant, the anxious hasn't got anything to run after and hold on to. And if somebody's not anxious, then the avoidant hasn't got anything to push away. So it can be, it can really impact as well who you attract. So being aware of it is helpful, but also being aware of what you need to do in the relationship. So if you're like, I know that I'm somebody who, the minute things start to get a bit close, I tend to push away. So if I do that, this is what really helps me, is maybe if you give me a little bit of space and either let me come to you, or do you know what I mean? Or yes, I can get a little bit clingy. So if you find that I do that, if you just gently say to me, babe, you've got nothing to worry about, and I just need maybe a little bit of reassurance, that helps me feel a little bit more secure. Now, really, ideally, we should all try to work towards having a bit more of a secure attachment and deal with the patterns that are underneath in the root, because they can keep flaring up and constantly triggering us. When somebody says something or does something, it's not even about them, we're just triggered. So it's good for us to really own where we are and to be trying to work on ourselves as much as possible. But we might be working on ourselves for a while, but as long as you're aware of where you're at, then you can always say to somebody, this is what I need when I'm like this. That just helps things so much better than somebody else thinking that maybe they're doing something wrong, when actually they're not. It's just our own patterns that are playing out in the relationship. So when you have all of this in place in terms of loving your relationship and working on being the ideal partner, you can communicate clearly and calmly. You know what your needs are, and you can respect that your partner has needs as well. And you create some emotional safety within your relationship as well, instead of drama, right? That's why knowing yourself first, it just helps you to be ready for how you're going to show up in that relationship too. So reflect on this as well. In your past relationships, what did conflict usually look like? And what part did you play in the dynamic? I think that's really important for you to be honest with yourself about. And obviously, I'd love for you to think about the other things too. About, do you know what your love language is? And do you know what your attachment style is as well? So have a little bit of a reflection on that too for yourself. So the first part we've just covered. We've talked about all the internal bit, all that bit of being relationship ready. And obviously, as you can imagine, hopefully you can hear how important it is, why it matters so much for you to make sure that you've dealt with those things, you worked on those things, you have that in awareness. But obviously, just doing the inner work doesn't mean that magically someone's going to just show up at your door. Your dream partner's just going to, show up because you've done all that inner work. So now, I know, wouldn't that be amazing, right? I always say that. Ding dong goes the door. Oh, hello. And then you've got the heart eyes. And, I bet you that has happened. I think I read somewhere that has happened to somebody, but I don't think that's a rule. It's an exception. very rare. So please don't wish your days away, wait for that to happen. So this is where the second part of this framework is so important, like the part of what you're doing, right? This is where your intention then starts to meet action. This is where dating then can start feeling clearer, calmer, more purposeful. So this is the what you're doing, the outer strategy. So it's your inner work then, becoming aligned with your action, because without it, then you're stuck, right? The action without your inner work means that you keep repeating patterns. So that's why it's so important to have them both together. Okay. So the first part of this, what you're doing, is what I call your vision for love, right? This is pillar 4. So when you understand yourself in relationships, as we talked about, that's brilliant. So, but now the next part needs to happen is knowing exactly what it is that you want in a relationship. And this is where knowing this stops you from asking yourself, do I like them, but also, does this relationship fit the life that I'm trying to build? It's not just about, do I like this person, but actually, is this relationship going to be aligned with me? Is this person going to be aligned? So, it's more about not just your fantasy. It's not about having a checklist, but it's about real alignment, and it's like real compatibility. This is a very important piece of the puzzle. And I do this work a lot with people. We do a lot of relationship requirements work, because it changes the game so much for people when they've got so much more clarity on what they're looking for. This is also part of the not dating in the dark. And it means you just stop saying yes to everybody, basically. If you don't have it, then you end up dating reactively. This is where you can just date and say yes to people because they've said yes to you, or, oh, this feels comfortable, or, they're funny, they make me laugh, so I'm just going to go with that, right? And that's great. You might want someone funny. We obviously want someone nice and kind and respectful, but I always feel like those are kind of like the bare minimum. Like, yeah, we should want those anyway, but that shouldn't just be it. We get on well. I always hear that. So, we get on well. That's great. You want that, but are you aligned? Are you compatible? You can get on well with loads of people. Doesn't mean that they're the perfect match for you, right? So if you don't have that vision, that's how you end up just saying yes to so many people that are just completely misaligned, or you get confused with attraction being the same as compatibility. I know one of my relationships, I was very confused with the fact that we had so many hobbies and interests in common, and I took that as a sign of compatibility, but we really weren't compatible. We were great as friends, but not as like a romantic relationship. There was definitely something missing, but I didn't realize that till years later. Years later, when I suddenly thought, hold on a minute, we're actually not that compatible. We're quite misaligned. Like, we're still actually good friends today. Actually, it's more like one of my kids' dad. Like, we got on very well, and we still like chat today and stuff like that. We can still bring up all those same things we had in common, but were just not like right for each other in that respect. And I didn't realize I'd really thought I'd hit the nail on the head. Yeah, like, we've got all this stuff in common, we're so compatible, but it's like not really. So that's why it's so important to know exactly what compatibility looks like for you. Because when it's not in place, then you're not sure about what you're looking for, and you kind of are very broad then in who you kind of accept into your world, and you can spend so much time just dating people that you probably have no business dating in the first place, rather than actually being a little bit more narrow in your options. You can end up compromising on your values because you're just kind of getting swept away with how something feels for you. You can get swept away with the potential of somebody rather than actually the reality of what you see right now in front of you, not what they could be, but what is. So when you have got this in place, one of the best things is it makes it so much easier for you to make decisions on whether you want to move forward with somebody or not. It helps you to screen for alignment quite early because you're very clear on what it is that you're looking for in your relationship. And then dating can feel a lot more purposeful instead of exhausting, because you're not just kind of like so open to just seeing who comes along, seeing how it goes, seeing if this works, spending more like time, with each other. You're just like, no, I've got a purpose. I know exactly what I'm looking for. And I'm always very clear that it's not about just the traits and the character and the personality of somebody. Of course, those are important, but it's very much more about, do we align on like our values? This is what is important to me. This is what I'd love to share with somebody else that's important too, whether it's family, whether it's, being part of a community, whether it's affection, whether it's honesty. And what does honesty mean for you? Are you somebody that's okay with white lies, or are you somebody who wants full open transparency in your relationship? And does that person also want the same thing too? because then the experience that you'll have with each other is going to be different. You know, you'll know that you're both going to come together and be honest with one another. You know, how people treat other people as well. Like that was one of the things that was quite appealing to my partner. I met him online actually, but it was in his profile when he said that he doesn't like, injustice towards other people. Or there was something else he said. There was quite a few things that stood out that were very different. I was like, oh, I love that, because I'm like very much like that. I can't stand that. And that shows kind of the character that someone cares about other people, and I'm very much someone who cares about other people. So that's very important. I want to be able to have those conversations, or at some point maybe we do something together in the future, like a project where we're supporting other people together. So it's having those kind of ideas for yourself about what's important to you and what are the things you want to share with others. Part of the work I do around the vision for love is looking at what do you want your life to look like in the future as well? How do you want the relationship to fit into that life, the life that you want to build? That's kind of like really important. What kind of things you want to be doing together. Obviously, if family is important, and what does family being important mean? So you've got to even drill down and understand why this shared value means something to you. Why does it matter what it's about? And also because it might mean that you'll see the real thing that you want under there. Like I had a client, we did this piece of work together, and she was very big into fitness. She didn't like it. She just said, I didn't want my partner to drink. I didn't want him to smoke. So we tackled those. I was like, okay, why? What is it that's important? Why don't you want them to drink? Is it they can never drink around? She said, well, it's not that I don't want them to drink. It's that I just don't want them to be drunk around me. And I said, okay, why is that then? It's like, I just don't like it. I feel like they're a different person. Makes me feel very uncomfortable. I said, okay, so if they drunk, but they didn't get drunk around you, would that be okay? She said, well, yeah, that's fine. They can go off and be drunk somewhere else as long as they show up when they're over it. That's what will matter to me. I said, okay, so it's not that you don't want somebody who doesn't drink. You just don't want somebody who gets drunk around you. She said, okay, yeah, that's true. So it didn't end up being that non-negotiable. It ended up being something that she could kind of compromise on. So then that was very clear for her. And then she also knew what she wanted to say to somebody in that situation. Equally the same with smoking. She said, just don't like the smell. And also to me, I'm, having a healthy lifestyle is very important. So I want someone who can share that with me. But, if they want to smoke, as long as they do it nowhere near my household, or I will meet somebody who probably doesn't, but if they pick up the habit, I'll tell them how I feel. So it helped her to just be very clear on the conversations she wanted to be having with people, if they were just needs but not non-negotiables. But then when she started dating again, and she got very clear on her relationship requirements, and she said she was talking to someone on the phone. She had a date planned with somebody, and she liked to call them first. So they got on the phone. She said he ticked all my boxes, and then we got on the phone. Then we talked about stuff, and then my main non-negotiable came up, and he did not meet that requirement. So I cancelled the date, because I knew that there was no point in going on this date with somebody who did not share that with me. And I really applauded her, because prior to that, she was just saying yes to everybody. She's like, yeah, I'll date you. Yeah, I'll date you. And she knew it wasn't like really what she wanted. So then she got so much more, sort of tight and narrow on her, what she wanted. And that really helped her, because then she was able to actually then meet somebody who was more aligned with her. But if she said yes to that person anyway, she would have missed out on that other person. And she would have just been wasting her time, because she knew that somewhere down the line, it would have just kind of blown back in her face, which is what had always happened. So getting clear on your non-negotiables / your relationship requirements, what you want to experience in your relationship, how you want it to feel, what is going to make you feel fulfilled in that relationship. Get clear on that, because then you'll be able to spot it quickly and duck it if it's not for you, or progress with it. And it means you can answer those questions, should I go forward with this person or not, a lot easier, because you'll be like, well, actually, they're missing these really key non-negotiables for me. They won't be able to provide that in the relationship. We won't be able to experience that relationship together, because that's not something that they value. Then you can kind of move on. And it's very different, obviously, like from behavior. People can always modify behavior, but it's more about, if this is a key mismatch in our values, it will just blow up in my face. And you can decide how important you want the things that you just won't negotiate on. That's it. So I want you to really reflect on, what are the 3 values that your future relationship must support, not in theory, but in daily life. Like, what's going to be really important to you going forward? Like, I'm definitely big on honesty and transparency. I've got to have that. affection is massively important to me as well, because I feel like without it I feel very like cold, like I'm just here by myself. There's no like physical touch, and for me it's about warmth as well. It's about closeness, so that's what it's about for me. So it's really understanding, what does it mean for you? You might be somebody who really wants to travel, you want to experience different cultures, different, you know, foods, languages, whatever. You just want to go on an adventure. So it might be really important for you to share that with somebody. But if somebody's like much more of a homebody, they don't get off their couch, they've never left the country, and they have no desire to, that's going to be a massive mismatch, you know, and it's going to make you have those itchy feet. And you then you're going to be like, well, this person's not going to come with me, so what am I going to do? Am I just going to spend our time, you know, years apart traveling around the world? This person I love is just sitting here at home. You know, it's going to make you frustrated, or it might make you try and keep pushing them, and they're like, but I don't want to, and this is not about me. And then it's like, well, why did I even start this relationship anyway when I already knew that? You know, so it just kind of helps you to be clear. It's different if they're like, no, I'll be open to that. I've never done it, but I'm open to coming, you know, and to experiencing different things. So I'm happy for that. That's a whole different ball game. And you're like, okay, cool, that could work. So that's where it comes in differently. So definitely have a bit of reflection for yourself about what are the top 3 things that I actually really would love to experience in my relationship. Right, I know we've hit 8 already, but we did start a little bit late, so hopefully you can bear with me a bit more. I've just got 2 more villas to go. So the next one is where the main part, I think, that people tend to get frustrated the most. And this is where I do a lot of work as well with people. This is why I have a very specific call as well to help people with this area. And this is the whole thing of, how do I attract the right person? Because of your patterns and your beliefs. This is where your blocks to love coming. This is what pillar 5 is. So you might get clear on what you want, but you also still find yourself attracting the same kinds of people over and over again. This is where people get a lot frustrated. I keep seeing the same person, like with a different face. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? And it's not because you haven't got the right vision, you don't know what you want, but there's a pattern, something that's happening underneath that keeps pulling you back into familiar patterns. So this is where we look at your blocks, not flaws, but just your learned responses, your conditioned responses. We tend to have this unconscious conditioning. And once you become aware of it, then you can nip that in the bud and create better, more helpful patterns, which means that it will help you with your choices when you're out there dating. These are the patterns that kick in when you're dating. So these tend to keep repeating until the belief that's connected to that pattern changes, because that's often where the pattern comes from. It's a belief that you've got, whether it's about yourself, whether it's about love, you know, whether it's about other people. You know, it could be things like, I don't think I'm lovable, therefore if I'm not lovable, then I'm also not going to believe that I can find the right person, therefore I'm going to keep on just saying yes to people who are not massively right for me, but they're good enough. You know, I'm just going to settle because I don't really think that I really can have what I want. I might have this vision, but I don't really believe I can have it. So therefore, I'm just going to go for this. Or it might be, you know, love is hard. Love is so hard that therefore you find yourself being in situations that are complex and difficult and tricky. And because you have that belief, you think, oh, it should be this hard. I have to be putting so much effort in, you know, rather than, yeah, love takes work and love takes a bit of effort, but it doesn't have to be so hard, you know. It could be, you know, a belief around, you know, there aren't enough good men or women out there. You know, it's a very common one. And if you believe that, then what you also find is you tend not to see those good women or men because you're not expecting to see them. So again, you might just settle for what less than what you want, you know, or just find yourself constantly in these exhausting dating situations with people who just aren't for you. And it's not that people lack opportunities, you just tend to kind of keep creating that same sort of dynamic with different people. You know, you think, okay, well, that one didn't work out, I'm going to try again. But what you're doing is you're actually doing the same thing with somebody else. So it's not even that person's maybe wrong per se, but it's just the pattern keeps playing out. So if you don't address this, then you will keep on attracting the same people. You'll keep blaming other things like, oh, it's just bad timing, or it's just bad luck, all the dating apps are rubbish, you know, it's their fault, or, you know, all I keep finding is these kind of people's. That's what happens. And then you end up just getting really discouraged and you start getting cynical and you start thinking, oh, love's never going to work for me, dating isn't going to work for me. That's what happens. But when you do address it, then you start making different choices naturally for yourself and you start getting different outcomes. You start to feel calmer, you start to feel more discerning about who you're picking, then you end up breaking the cycle rather than constantly analysing what's going wrong. I know for me, this was a massive shift that I had to make. And I didn't even realise I was doing it because I'd been stuck in a situationship for like 5 years. Wasn't I even go there? That was definitely patterned and low self-worth. That was driving that one. But after that, because I was so used to not having somebody who would commit to me, I didn't even realize I was doing this, but I started attracting guys who just wanted casual relationships, people who weren't looking for a serious commitment. And I would just keep going along with it, going with the flow, until it dawned on me one day that actually it wasn't that, I was just finding guys who wanted to be in casual relationships. I believed that I couldn't find anybody who wanted to be in a committed relationship. I didn't believe that I could meet somebody who would want to be committed to me. So when I realized that that was my belief, I had to knock that on the head. I had to upgrade my belief. I had to shift it and start telling myself that actually, no, there are men out there who would want to be committed to me. There are men out there who actually would want to be in serious relationships. I have to believe that to be true. And when I started believing that to be true, I was able to start actually seeing them. We only see as far as our limits, right? We only see as far as here. But when I opened my mind and was able to actually knock that, like move that limit out of the way and be like, no, actually they do exist, then I was able to see them. And that's what shifted and changed. And I was able to start meeting more people who were on that kind of page of wanting more, and also believing that it was possible for me to meet them too. And that's exactly what happened. So when you figure out what your pattern is, when you figure out what the belief is that is, ruling the show, your unconscious belief, a core belief you've been holding on to for a very long time in your life, and you're able to shine a spotlight on it, like no judgment, no shame, you just have that realization. It's like, oh, that's what's been like keeping me stuck. Oh my goodness. Okay, cool. Now this is what I need to do. This is what I need to believe differently. And as a result, this is how I need to behave differently in order to get the outcome that I want. That is a really, really key piece, especially if you've just been getting frustrated over and over again and find like you're stuck in the same pattern. So reflection for you here is thinking about, what pattern do you see that just keeps showing up in your dating life? What is it that you're seeing? What kind of person maybe do you find that you keep seeing but packaged in a different way? Or what kind of relationship do you keep having with people? Is it the same kind of casual thing? Is it the same relationship where maybe you get involved with somebody, then after a short space of time, they disappear? Then you think, okay, well, what is that? What could be the belief that I might be having that could potentially be driving that? That could be driving the choice that I make, the people that I'm saying yes to. So have a reflection, see what maybe has been showing up in your life. Now, the final pillar is your approach to finding love. So once you start seeing your patterns clearly, then dating stops feeling so personal, like it's a personal attack on you that, I keep finding these people are doing this to me, especially online as well. There's a massive one. And it stops feeling confusing. Then you can start changing your approach. You just stop chasing after people. You stop overthinking every single message, and you start being able to choose more intentionally. And this is kind of really a bit more practical and a bit more strategic. This is where the intentional dating does also really come in. And it's actually a skill, being able to be intentional as you date. Things like where you look for the people that you would love to be matched with, how you screen them, and how you respond to what happens in front of you matters. So it could be like, whether you want to date online, is looking at specific apps that might suit you better. It could be and also how you manage yourself in the online dating process as well, because you're being more intentional, because you're clear on what you want. You are now no longer operating from those old patterns. You're no longer taking dating other people's behavior personally. You're more resilient. You bounce back from things quicker. You're not affected by people disappearing and ghosting or even rejecting you, because you're just like, that's okay. They're just not my person. They're not for me. I don't need to let it be a personal thing. And if this app's not working for me, cool, I'll move on to a different one. So you're a bit lighter, in the way in which you show up. And then you just kind of respond to things in a completely different way. So when it's not aligned, when you're not being intentional, then you can end up just chasing the potential, of what could be. This is where you end up ignoring red flags, because you're not even clear on what, obviously what you're looking for, being able to screen people, or not even having an awareness of those red flags first. Because I always say as well, this is the part where you know what red flags are, the red flags that you used to keep falling for, but you're not doing that anymore. but you also know your green flags. What are the things you need to be looking for as well in people to show that, yeah, this is right, this is going in the right direction? Because sometimes when we are in a calmer scenario, calmer situations, it can feel a little bit like, oh, is this a bit boring? You know, I'm so used to that passion and that fire, but actually that passion, that fire was possibly a bit toxic. And it's like, actually what you're looking for is something that is calm, but do you feel safe? You know, do you feel, you know, at peace with this person? That's the things you're also looking for. How is that person's behavior? Are they showing up consistently in a positive way? You know, that's why I've got my red flags and green flags checklist that I give to people as well. So they've got that to actual hand. And one of my clients I was working with, she said, oh my gosh, I met this guy. I used your guide. It was so helpful because I was actually going through it to make sure. I was like, nope, didn't have that, didn't have that. Brilliant. Oh, yes, he had this. Yes, he had this. And it was just so good because I had so much more confidence in the progression of this. So that's part of the intentional approach. You're able to screen quite early, like I said, when you know what you're looking for, when you know what your vision is. Love, you're able to say, actually, yeah, this person is somebody I would want to go forward with because they've got these key values. Great. And obviously you're going to be exploring more the more you get to know people. You're not going to know everything up front, but the key things that you know that they've got, you can move forward. Brilliant. You might get to a certain point, be like, oh, that value is totally missing. We are completely misaligned here. But at least I know and I've spotted it early and I'm clear. I'm not just doing that thing, oh, but I'm just going to see how it goes, you know, kind of things. Like, no, I just know it's not going to work, you know. And any of the challenges that come up, like I said, the ghosting, the rejection, maybe you've got chemistry, but there's no compatibility, or maybe there's compatibility, but not chemistry. You know how to handle those with confidence and you trust yourself. Because often when we're dating a lot and we keep picking the wrong person, we start to lose our trust in ourselves. But when you know exactly what you're looking for, you're clear in your patterns, you know how to screen people, it gives you more self-trust and you have more confidence. So your last reflection exercise is really thinking about, where am I currently dating from? Am I being more intentional as I date, or am I just kind of dating from habit? You know, is this are my eyes wide open, or am I just still just sort of dating in the dark and just hoping for the best? Am I aware of more, you know, green flags that I've experienced before in the past that I know that I keep falling into, that I need to stop saying yes to, maybe because I wasn't aware, and that I now know what my green flags are that I need to be looking for, the clearer things. So that is the 6-part framework, right? Split it into 2 to make it easier. It's who you're being and what you're doing. So if you're finding things frustrating, ask yourself that question. Is it who I'm being? Who am I being when I'm dating? You know, do I love myself? Do I love my life? Do I love my relationship by focusing on being an ideal partner? Or is it what I'm doing? Am I clear on what I'm looking for? Am I dealing with my patterns? Am I being very intentional in my approach? Okay, those are the really 6 things. So if you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I can see myself in more than one of these, that's fine. It happens. You know, most people don't tend to just have one missing piece, to be fair. There's usually at least a couple that might be slight out of alignment, and which is enough to actually keep what you're looking for out of reach. So if one of those pillars stood out for you, especially in a like, oh my gosh, that's me kind of way, then, you know, and you want to get a little bit of help, I do these 50-minute sort of free clarity calls where you can hop on, just say, right, this like really registered with me. This was the thing that came up the most. I'd love to just talk that through and see what my next step might be. And then we can just identify like what exactly is getting in your way, and then what might your next step be that's going to make the biggest difference for you. So I do a lot of these with people. That's why if you're a meetup, you'll see that I always put them in there for like a Wednesday or Friday. And these have helped people so much. And it might just be a tiny little tweak that you need. You know, I've had somebody who she emailed me recently to say, oh my God, that call helped me so much. It helped me to really just see where I was going wrong with focusing constantly on the past. And I've dropped that, I've let that go. And then she's met somebody, you know, and she's had a different and better experience simply just because she was able to have somebody show the blind spots or help her know exactly what it is that she needs to do instead of the thing that she was doing. So we can look at what that pillar is that's currently blocking you, and, you know, help you come up with the next step, even maybe a little plan depending on how much time we have on that call, or just give you a bit of insight and a little bit of a shift that you can, like, you know, change immediately. So I'm always happy to do that. I love doing that. So I've just put the actually, you know what, that is not the right, ignore that. I've just spotted what I did wrong on there. Just give me 1 second while I correct myself. So I do this so much that I what's the word? No, off by heart. That's the right one. So if you wanted to put that, go for it. If you're somebody who knows that you've got a pattern and you just like, yeah, I'm ready to break it. I don't want to analyze it or manage it. I just want to actually shift it. I mentioned in the Blocks to Love that I do a deeper, proper session called How to Attract the Right Person. So this is where we really go deep. We go beneath the surface. We change what's driving the pattern. Like we actually get to the root of the problem so you don't keep repeating it. You know, in a new face, like it's happened again with this person. It's happened again this year. You know, I've definitely been in situations where I felt like I've got to the end of 1 year and I felt like, God, how am I still here? I was here last year. Why am I still here? It can happen. Time can fly by so quickly, and that could happen. So if you know that you're somebody who already wants to deal with their pattern, then we can just do the one-to-one deeper session. You can find out a little bit more about that. Okay, good. And great, Nicola. And I will go back to everybody's comments and questions in a minute, so don't worry, because I definitely want to tackle those and make sure you walk away feeling clear. Even if we don't do any of these calls or anything after, that's absolutely fine. I do really want you to kind of just, you know, come away from this just having some clarity. But I always like to give people options as well, just in case they want some more help later, because sometimes people can go away going, all right, this was great, but now what? What do I do now? So that's why those are there. And if you're somebody who actually feels like, you know what, most of this is fine, I'm actually really ready to get out there and date, I just want to meet people, I just want to know where to meet people, I want to meet genuine people. If you haven't spotted it yet, I've got a mixer on Friday in a couple of days. It's what I call my Find Your Match virtual mixer, and it's with people from Meetup, it's with people from my matchmaking pool and my club community. And we get together and I literally just facilitate people connecting with each other in breakout rooms. So you always have these prompts where you just go and take them into the room to start and spark a conversation. We do it as a group, and then we also pair off and stuff like that. And I've done 2 already, and they've been brilliant. They've been amazing. I've always got lovely feedback from them. People have absolutely loved them. And what I've always found is I've got lovely people in my pool. Because I always get that vibe when people come into the room together, and everyone says that when they walk away going, oh, that person, they were really lovely. Some people have gone on to form connections after, so I pair people up after as well if they like people. Okay, I'm going to put that in there for you just in case. Nicola, you have to dash. Yes, definitely, we'll look forward to chatting, Nicola. That'd be lovely. Thank you so much for being on and for being patient with me at the beginning as well, and hopefully we'll speak soon.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Lovely. Nice to speak to you. So yeah, that's on Friday at 7 o'clock. If you want to join and come and connect with other people. And I also have another way that you can be part of the mixer, but also if you want to join the matchmaking pool and I match you with somebody who is potential match for you. This all depends on, you know, whether somebody's in there that's aligned with you, that is, you know, got your preferences and your desires, etc. So you fill in a form and I look at your details and I bring you together and introduce you if I find someone that's aligned. But you can also come to the mixer as well. You also get to come to the mixer every month as being part of that. There's also a Telegram community chat, so you can chat to other people as well if you want to, those genuine singles. And you also get weekly ongoing guidance and support as well inside the club. So this is where you get help being an intentional dater. So right now, what I've done already, I think we've been in there 6 weeks now, there's a how to get a date in 5 days sort of mini course, bunch of trainings. There's the red flags and green flags checklist that I mentioned, that is in there. There's a training on how to be compatible, how to know if you're compatible with somebody. You also get a week of Ask Me Anything, so you can like drop in a form your question and I answer it for you. So I just answered somebody's about speed dating. We've also put in a online dating mini course as well that I've put in there. And then this week I also put in I think it was a dating app finder. So it's the guide with loads of different dating apps, their features, their pros and cons. So that's already in there right now. And as the weeks go by, I drop something in every single week. So it's actually the same price as your virtual mixer ticket as well, wildly. So you get the mixer, you get the pool, you get the community, you get all that dating guidance. And it's just like low touch. If you're somebody who just loves being able to, to tap into something without having that 1-to-1 connection. So that's all there for you. So I've dropped that for you just in case you guys want it. Click on anything. Obviously, if you've got any questions, you can also reach out to me or meet up. So I want you to just really think about, how you're feeling maybe before you join the session, and notice what's maybe come up for you, what's been obvious. I'd love for you to share in the chat as well, if you already know which area might be an area that you need to tweak for yourself, or areas, it might be more than one. Is it love yourself, love your life, love your relationship? Is it your vision for love? Is it your blocks to love? Or is it your approach to finding love? I'd love to know which of those you feel like, yeah, I need to tweak that a little bit or work on that, so that, my dating life can be better. Obviously, you don't have to figure everything out straight away, but the clarity comes literally from having that self-awareness and then starting to take, some steps forward. So obviously, if you had a hard time last year when it came to dating or relationship, just look at all of that as feedback, right? Not failure, but feedback. Feedback is always useful, because you can always look at something and, okay, what happened there? Because that will always show you, where something wasn't aligned. Not that love isn't for you, that the right person isn't out there for you. It's just that, okay, what was going on for you? Because obviously what we've walked through today isn't necessarily about finding the relationship. It's about becoming the kind of person who can recognize the right person, knows how to attract them, and how to choose a healthy relationship, and then also keep it. So when you're focused on who you're being and what you're doing, when that's aligned, then your dating can sort of stop feeling like it's an emotional roller coaster, and it starts to feel more intentional, So just take one insight at least from today and then apply it, and you'll start to see a shift. And obviously, if you want any guidance, if you're somebody that does better with guidance and reflection and support, that's brilliant. It's not weakness, getting help. I got help. I had a coach actually, she's the one who actually helped me to start seeing my beliefs, and it was brilliant. And without that shift, I wouldn't have spotted a lot of things. So just pick one of those options if you want to. Now, I'm going to have a quick look and see, because we had lots of chat in here. Right, Oksana. So Oksana was saying that you find it difficult to understand, why do I need another person near you? I'm fully enough for myself and interesting. I start doing that. If I love myself, why do I think I need someone else to compliment me? I abandon my needs, that people overstep your boundaries. And once you stop doing that and thinking about that in my future relationship, I stopped understanding who I really need. I only think about the partner or business partner near me. Okay, I'm just going to see if you added anything else. I know somebody else says that. Just means you might want to share your life, not lose yourself in it again. Maybe it's not about needing somebody, but choosing the right kind of connection. Love that, Hardik. That's great insight. These things usually take time to settle, especially after what you've been through, but it sounds like you're on a much healthier path now. Brilliant. So I feel like Hardik has already responded. Brilliant. Jay says, I tend to allow my boundaries to be overstepped because I want to feel validated, and not break the relationship with the fear of being lonely. So you need to work on that. Definitely, 100%. That's very good awareness, Jay. That's definitely what happens to us. We're so afraid of breaking that connection that, because we don't want to be on our own. So we keep on letting people kind of get away with things. But as long as you're aware of that, that's great. Do you feel like you know how to stop doing that? Do you know what the next step is for you in terms of, working on your self-worth? Because it is going to really be about that, because what you don't want is other people to validate you. You want to be able to validate yourself. So let me know if you feel comfortable about doing that. Could you chat about the pillars of difficulty? Okay, great. You're interested in exploring your core beliefs about love. Okay, so do you want to hop on a call with me, Jill? You can pick one of the two, whether a quick 15-minute one, or if you want to actually do the deep dive for the how to attract the right person and look at your
I'd like
patterns.
to do the deep dive,
Okay, brilliant. So have you seen the one where it says how to track one-to-one link? If you click this one, and then you can go and have a look at that, and you can book it through that link, and we can spend some time going through.
Okay.
And then you'll get
I'll do that. I'll book in with that.
Brilliant. That'll be awesome. And then we can just do deep. I love deep dives.
Yeah.
I'm such an analytical person. Yeah. And then
let's throw ourselves into it.
Yeah, definitely. Because then we can really go beneath the surface, find out what your patterns are, etc.
Yeah.
and then we can start thinking about what are going to be more helpful patterns for you going forward, and have like a
Yeah.
plan in place of what you need to also then do practically to basically align with those patterns. Because often that's where we get stuck, is like, okay, now I know what to do. Well, now I know what's going on, but what do I do? So I know when I also realized what one of my patterns was that over giving and over investing. So what I would do was, because I felt like I needed to keep on chasing people. If somebody pulled away from me, I didn't want them to forget me, so I'd keep messaging them and writing to them. But when I realized I was doing that, because again, that's a bit like what you were saying, Jay, about seeking that validation, I realized that wasn't the right way to be. So that's kind of fine. I was like, right, I don't need validation, but then what do I do instead? So what happens then if they do pull away from me? How do I react? And it's like, well, this is what you do. You just lean back. You take a chill pill, and you let that person come towards you, because then you can see whether or not they are interested and they're going to come towards you. And if they're not, then you release them and let them go. You don't need to convince somebody to be with you, but that's what I used to do. So that was really helpful. So along with my new belief and my new pattern, I also had a very practical thing that I knew to do. So that's something that we can do then and map that out. I used to have something that I called a relationship manifesto. So it just listed all the things. This is what you used to do, Tops, and this happened, but this is what you need to do now instead. So clear for me. It just made such a massive difference. Right. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask? Anything they want to share? Any insights that's come up for them from today's session? Oksana, I hope that you feel like Hardik responded to your question well, made you feel seen and heard. Yeah, that's brilliant. Nice one, Hardik. And is there anything that you want to ask, anything else, or any insight you want to share? Please feel free. We've just got a few minutes. If not, then I'm going to send out the replay to this, so you can go back and watch it again, take some notes, write down your reflections, etc. And like I said, Oksana has got a question. Go for it. You can unmute yourself, my dear.
Yeah. I guess that currently, so you asked about like me and also my realization of the relationship. Maybe I mostly focus on my some business self-expression and creativity, career focus, education focus. So I didn't think about the relationship maybe till my 30s years old, because I need to focus on that and give my energy to other person, maybe time to other person. And that's why I wasn't prepared. For example, after my unsuccessful relationship, I realized that I need to focus primarily on the partner, and to understand also, yes, you mentioned about my needs. I don't need to overstep for my partner. If I think and if I feel something similar, I need to stop this relationship. Because I need to find someone independent as me. So that's why maybe I didn't think about someone until my 30s, to find someone also, self-conscious as me. After 30s, you really realize yourself, what your needs and etc. I'm 23 years old, and I'm on this path to realizing myself, but I think primarily I realized that I don't want to overstep myself for someone's. I want support in my relationship also, as you mentioned about honesty, affection, and etc. But with the self how to respect, self-respection, if we respect each other, it is about that, and partnerships. But also I had this issue, and I struggle currently because I fell in love. And I think it has been 3 months till that time. I wasn't prepared for that feeling, and currently I just struggle because I have my job, I have my projects, and I have the feeling for the person I tried to spoke with. He proposed me, invited me to the coffee, but I wasn't ready. I was scared. I felt this fear because I wasn't prepared for the person to respond to my feelings maybe and my emotions. And that's why maybe when he invited me to the coffee, I said, let's chat online. And after that, he said that I was tired of our chatting. And we just like cut
Fizzled
this
out.
communication. And currently I'm really struggle. I fell inside myself, like I am broke, but I didn't
Mm,
even met this person. Like this is the first time for me that I really felt in love. And
mm,
this is some like the feeling that I cannot even express. Like I
mm,
scared this feeling. And
yeah.
um you know um my friend advised me to go to the psychotherapist because it has been 3 months, still I feel that, but I enjoy this feeling. My also mother told me that the real feeling of love is pain, when you feel the pain. But I don't think that like you need to to hurt yourself, but otherwise like this person can't accept my feeling. So maybe
Mm,
you can have advice or maybe the similar experience, but I don't know whether the time is not limited. But I wanted to share this experience because something can happen unexpectedly, and the relationship is not about maybe something that you can be prepared for, but something can just strive inside you unexpectedly.
yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for sharing all that. Yeah, it's very true. You can just like meet people and fall for them and have feelings for them, and it's like come out of the blue. It's like, okay, I don't even know how to handle it. But I think that's what we were talking about today when I was talking about the part one of the framework of who you're being and being relationship ready. So at least you're ready if somebody comes along to know what to do. So it sounds like with you, there's a little bit of fear there about actually being involved with people and not feeling quite ready, even if you have the feelings for them, and maybe it feels nice to have the feelings for them, but there's obviously something that was kind of blocking you and stopping you from wanting to take that further properly. So that's where I was saying that when things don't go well, it's looking at it as feedback. Okay, that's happened. Why? It's really good for you to be able to use this opportunity now to ask yourself, why do I feel so afraid? Because then the next time, when maybe you've either fallen out of love or maybe reconnect with this person, you can then actually progress it properly and move it forward. So it's about doing that little bit of work and questioning yourself and going a little bit deeper. Does that make sense? Yeah. And, feel free if you want to hop on a quick call with me as well, book the 50-minute dating help call, and we can have a chat about that, because you would also get like an assessment that goes through these six parts of the framework, and you can also check in with yourself about where you stand on those, and it might give you some insight onto what is the thing maybe that's blocking you and getting in your way. And then maybe we could look at, okay, what's your next first step that you need to do to kind of get out of your own way. um, Welcome, Jay, or Jay's run off. um, is that all right, Oksana? It'd be really great to like have that chat if you want to.
Yeah, I think I want to because I didn't think even about the relationship, but after I started maybe to plan my years, not only 1 year, but to prepare the framework suitable for example, 5 year strategy, that I don't need to plan year by year and spend in maybe a week, 2 weeks by preparing my plans, but to have areas in my life and, for example, to spend at least 10 hours per year for this area. And that's why you can assess that I completed everything in my areas, maybe even like something was less, something was more. And this is the relationship, one of the areas of our life. So you can just meet, for example, twice per year, even new people, and like try to build even connection and try to build the relationship with them. Yeah, maybe something your affection can happen offline, because
Yeah,
I felt in love online. And
yeah,
when I was invited on just casual walk, I guess I was scared because I wasn't prepared for this on offline, like because I thought about this person as my idol. I don't know. I just really thought about him as a pop star, like some star actor. Like he was really pretty. And when I really saw this message, like when I waited this message for a month because I tried to connect this person and
mm,
chatted with him, but I waited, and after I saw this, the message, I waited. was waiting. Like I understood that I'm not ready. I'm not ready, maybe internally,
Yeah,
for this,
yeah.
for expressing myself. Like as I was like I didn't even think about the relationship because as you understand that you need to take like to give this energy and time to another person, you
Mm,
need to be prepared and
yeah,
to plan also this and focus primarily, for example, on this area of your life.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's very well thought of. So definitely please just book a call and we can talk about this a little bit more. I have booked it in depth. That brilliant. Well done, Jill. I look forward to connecting with you on that call and getting into it. It's going to be juicy. Bye.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you
Thank you.
for listening.
Bye, Oksana. Please, yeah, book a call and let's get on a
Bye
chat.
bye.
Bye, Jill. Take care.
Thank you.
Lovely to have
Bye.
you on. You're very welcome. Bye, Oksana.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.